Welcome back to the show, everybody. Epstein flight logs. We got them in the free zone, ladies and gentlemen. And let me tell you what else we got, too. The Bitcoin spot ETF is coming. But what if the SEC were to try to stop it? Well, we got a lawyer to tell you exactly what will go on if they do. And guess what else? Regulated liability networks. What do they have to do with stablecoins and the real digital assets with use case utility? You're going to find out today. Somebody just rolled that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Right now, $1.82 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is up 4.3%. I just want to refresh this very quickly here. Now it's saying 1.71. Look, it's bleeding heavily, ladies and gentlemen. We're off by 6.5%. I was like, something ain't right. Something isn't right here. 42,400 right now for Bitcoin. We see 2,200 and change for Ethereum. Tether market cap is 92 billion plus, and we see XRP at the number 6 spot at 55 cents. Oh my God. Don't look, Ethel. We're off by 12.1 on the 24-hour. We're off by 11.5 on the 7-day. So you can see that everything is happening in the last several hours here. My goodness, somebody stop it. Make it stop. Let's see what we got here. Refresh this page. Yeah, we have dropped from 63 cents to 53 cents and now sitting at 55 cents. How about that? All in a day's work here. We need those approvals for those Bitcoin spot ETFs, but this is the kind of goofy stuff that start happening when you see large institutions about to enter in force. That's the way I see it at any rate. Now let's take a look at this, ladies and gentlemen, here. You're going to love this. Stablecoin issuer Circle is weighing up a 24 public launch. Circle initially agreed to go public as a part of a $4.5 billion merger in July 2021, but that deal fizzled out. So the question is will they go public in 2024? They have expressed the interest to do so. Now, we don't know if they will, but I tell you what, if they do, you're going to love it because you can get it today before they go public on Link2. I got some. Yes, I did. Let me tell you what I did real quick. Okay, I flipped my Ripple shares because they're in the middle of doing a posturing with the SEC. Like, you know what? We don't need to go public. We don't need you guys. We'll fight this thing to the end. That is the right legal posture to take with the SEC. Give them nothing. Don't let them feel that you need their blessing to go public, even though we know that they have to do the S1 with the SEC. But the reality is you got to get this case done, and you can't show any weakness to the SEC. So Ripple has said, whatever it takes, the case is first before going public. Got it. Totally got that message. So I said, you know what? I'm going to get Circle shares. I flipped my Ripple shares into Circle shares, and now I've got Circle shares, and I love it. And if they go public, that is amazing for me. And what I intend to do is to continue to get back into Ripple shares now that I've taken a position with Circle. And then maybe even if Ripple hasn't gone public by the time Circle does, should that happen, I might roll those over into Ripple shares at that time if I can. So look, there's so much opportunity here. You could start to see how you can really, really build a strategy inside the private equity world if you just go register and sign up and get started with Link2, because it's literally that simple. And again, I got to say it. It is the most affordable startups with minimums and minimum investment that you will find in private equity, period, full stop. Click the link to my sponsor under the video. Now, let's get to this. None of this is financial advice, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just sharing my digital perspectives. And you're going to hear Anthony Pompliano share his here. Listen to this, and then we're going to take a look at, well, what would happen if the SEC tried to deny all of these applications that are very close now. We are now within 7 days of the deadline that's been called to whether we're going to see an approval on these spot Bitcoin ETFs. Getting very exciting. We're not going to play this whole clip, so breathe a sigh of relief, but you'll want the first part.
Bitcoin's on blast. For the first time since April of 2022, it zoomed past the 45,000 mark today and came within $78 of 46,000 before retreating, but we're still above 45,000 at 45,186 right now. After being crowned the best performing asset class of 2023, Bitcoin's prowess continues into the new year, boosted in great part by Wall Street speculation. The Securities and Exchange Commission is within days. Like 3 days of approving at least one of the 13 spot Bitcoin ETF applications. But
just look at the list of these companies. Franklin Templeton, right? Fidelity, the BlackRock, Grayscale, VanEck. I mean, the Valkyrie. Come on now. These are massive companies.
what then happens to the price of Bitcoin once we do see an approval? Let's bring in one of Bitcoin's biggest bulls and an early investor in the crypto space, Pomp Investments, Anthony Pompliano. All right. So here's what we're hearing, and here's what you predicted just a couple of months ago on the Claim and Countdown. You said it would be a bunch of them.
Yes.
And let them all fight it out. Charlie Gasparino's sources saying Kathy Wood of ARK Investments, because her application was officially done first. My sources were telling me BlackRock, GBTC, and Kathy Wood. All right, who's it going to be? Have you changed your opinion at all?
I don't know exactly who's going to go first. What I think they should do is they should approve everyone, right? If you're going to allow the free market to make decisions in this country, then we shouldn't have regulators picking winners and losers. We don't need kingmaker. Just approve everyone, let them go fight it out. Now, what's interesting is there's estimated between $50 billion and $100 billion of assets that are going to go into these ETFs over the coming years, which means that the fee revenue every year could be $500 million to $1 billion. And so if you do that, that's $500 million to $1 billion every single year. How much money would you spend now to get those assets and have them be sticky? We're probably going to see hundreds of millions of dollars spent on marketing in the next 12 to 18 months by these Wall Street organizations saying, hey, if you want to buy a spot Bitcoin ETF, come buy it with me and not my competitors. And I think that is just something that we haven't seen in finance. It's going to be the greatest marketing blitz ever.
Would you invest in a piece of the ETF, or would you invest in BlackRock stock or ARK or perhaps GBTC? Well, GBTC is going to convert up just, one for one there. So
Bitcoin has been an incredible asset. It's highly volatile. It goes up and it goes down a lot. But if you look over a long period of time, it continues to go up. And, if you really think about it from a generational trade, every single generation has kind of one trade or one investment idea that tends to be the big winner. And I think that this generation has woken up to the idea that we have to debase the currency. We are going to continue to do that for decades to come. And so you're going to get into hard assets. Bitcoin historically has been the big winner there. It's up 170% last year. I think people believe it's going to go up a lot more in 2024 and beyond.
But let me you had just said that marketing and fees will bring huge windfalls to the ARKs and the BlackRocks of the world.
Yes.
So why take your shot with something as volatile as Bitcoin? And instead, why not go into BlackRock stock or... So you're saying, no, don't do the ARK stock and don't do the...
People are still going to do that stuff. I just think Bitcoin has outperformed those stocks historically, and I think it'll continue to do for a long period of time. One thing people should remember is that when you buy the ETF, you are buying exposure to Bitcoin. You're not actually buying Bitcoin itself. Mm-hmm. And so then there gets into the constituency. Some people say, no, I want to own Bitcoin itself. I want to hold my private keys. I want to have that self-custody. But for a lot of people, they're not going to go sign up for a Coinbase account. They're not going to go figure out how to buy Bitcoin directly. So this ETF's right in their brokerage account. They're going to go and they're going to allocate
capital. It opens the market to millions of retail investors who don't want to have to remember a 90-digit password or something, and then you lose it, and it's a...
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. People want this to look like the traditional financial market. That's what they want. And it appears they're about to get it. This right here from Metal Law Man. Shout out to you, Metal Law Man. If the SEC were to deny all spot Bitcoin ETFs, the applicants would immediately sue, and the DC Court of Appeals would again rule that the SEC was arbitrary and capricious. The SEC gave every reason they had for denying Grayscale and lost. I expect multiple approvals on January 10th. Someone said, what if they just deny for a new reason? Metal Lawman says, that is theoretically possible, but the SEC shot all their bullets against Grayscale. The court would very likely find the SEC new reason pretextual, reject it, and I would think sanctions against the SEC lawyers could be in play. How about that one right there? I think that's an excellent look. You got to remember, Attorney James Murphy, former securities litigator. This guy's not guessing, okay? And I think that's an excellent observation here when he's talking about the point. Look, if they try to double down after being told in a ruling that you're arbitrary and capricious, then you're going to go back to the judge and then try to come up with some new confounded reason? Let me tell you. You're talking about taking this in front of a judge who's already called you out once? I wouldn't want to be that guy with that girl. I can tell you that. Great stuff from Better Lawman here. I think those approvals are going to come all at once, too. I really do. Ripple says, now, listen, here's the contrast here, and very quickly, because we have some other stuff to go over here and how it ties into stablecoins. But look what's happened here. Bitcoin has gone from anti-establishment, anti-government, anti-bank to now being a bearer investment product, a bearer instrument investment product. That's what it's been reduced to. And it is reduced to, right? Because now it is just simply an investment product to bet on going up or down because of the volatility of it and the limited amount of it that is available. Right? So it's very interesting to see where we are at this point. Again, we all understand that there's still that variable out there that the Department of Homeland Security knows who the 4 Satoshis are. And for some reason, all the government agencies want to act like that never happened. But it did happen, right? So I find that extremely interesting. But not interestingly enough, weighing out all of the... Look, if I could, right? Because we are at a critical moment and we could be days away from one of the best or worst decisions I have made in my crypto career. I have decided to take exposure to Bitcoin, knowing full well what I understand about the Department of Homeland Security interviewing the 4 Satoshis and then the rest of the government agencies ignoring it and the list of major institutions looking to do it and knowing that the only reason the SEC has gotten this far with allowing it is because they lost in every way in argument and now they're basically being forced because of the ruling that was highlighted from James Murphy that they were arbitrary and capricious, that they're out of excuses. They have to do it. That's what this feels like to me. So I'm taking exposure because I feel like the risk versus reward is in the right place for myself. Just wanted to share that, not financial advice. However, 97% of payment leaders, because now we're getting out of an investment product and we're moving into use case utility. You see the difference? One you're betting on, and you're going to be able to have exposure to it through ETFs, more regulation, more protection in that regard than we currently have. Then we're moving over to use case utility, payments, solving problems for businesses, right? Big difference between these two topics. Just want to make that clear. 97% of payment leaders believe blockchain digital assets will have a significant role in enabling faster payments within the next 3 years. In our latest payments guide, discover how to accelerate global payments for an IT service business. Now, that sets the tone here. Now, I want you to hear Citibank, and what she's going to say at the very end of this is a big deal. High Vibe is absolutely right. Citibank, one of the world's largest liquidity providers in the world, doesn't give a damn about your meme coin. Well said, High Vibe.
For Citi token services for cash and for trade. So now what we can do is we can move tokenized deposits around Citi's corridors. Right now it's just US and Singapore with aspirations of adding another 3 to 5 in the next near term. Well, it's great that we have this internal token, but our clients don't want a Citi token or another bank token. What they want is cross-bank, cross-border liquidity. So it's key that now that we have the infrastructure of the platform built internally, we work with like Regulated Liability Network and other participants about how do we solve these difficult issues as an industry. And there's still a lot of questions out there, but this FMI that RLN aspires to be is extremely positive because it...
There it is. This FMI, financial market institution that RLN strives to be, regulated liability network, is a big deal. Listen to this last part here.
That now that we have the infrastructure of the platform built internally, we work with like Regulated Liability Network and other participants about how do we solve these difficult issues as an industry. And there's still a lot of questions out there, but this FMI that RLN aspires to be is extremely positive because
it is extremely positive because we're changing gears. Look, we started the first part of the show talking about a new investment product. It's Bitcoin ETFs, right? But now we've changed gears and we're talking about digital assets that can solve real world problems being integrated and used on regulated liability networks, which we understand to be financial market infrastructure that's being built to incorporate this new technology with the old legacy systems and the banking world. This is where regulated liability networks come in. The City paper explains. Let me stay with me here. I'm going to land this plane. Maintaining this stable economic environment. Here it says, with sound monetary policies requires safe digital money that must be regulated, redeemable at par on value on demand, denominated in national currency units, and unambiguous legal claim on the regulated issuer. Unlike cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, which has its own thing going on because it's about to get really, really positive if everything gets approved for the ETFs. That investment product is going to do pretty much crazy things, but it isn't got a thing to do with solving payments for the rest of the world. Regulated liability networks include central bank money. Unlike cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, regulated liabilities include central bank money. Commercial bank money. This is important. Electronic money, since they all live on the balance sheet of the relevant regulated financial institution. An RLN would also allow stablecoins to be incorporated into the current financial system as regulated liabilities. By design, the transfer of money in a network of regulated liabilities will be in favor of the verified legal persons, reducing the risk of financial crimes, and would be conducted through transfer of tokens. Now, let me move down here a little bit because I want to share, we don't have to read this whole thing, right? But it's very good, actually, but I'm not going to. So at M10, which is an entity working with Citi on the regulated liability networks, we believe that blockchain technology is foundational to the creation of RLN and has the potential to express these tokenized liabilities on the same shared ledger. This shared ledger delivers the holy grail to banks, creating digital money that is always on, instant and programmable, global in scope, but regulated by a sound banking system. This is where we're going, right? This is where we're going. And this is why my bigger bet is on use case utility, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm betting for myself in the years that I've been in this space that XRP will play a big role in the financial system in some way here. Right? So that's my bet. It's not financial advice. You know that. But to address the data sovereignty, there would be one ledger for each currency, and it would host multiple types of liabilities for that currency. Banks can have positions on multiple ledgers. The ability for a bank to debit a position on one ledger and credit the balance on a different ledger enables cross-border payments. The Citi paper represents an essential contribution to payment literature, as it is the first articulation of the role of regulated liabilities networks can play in addressing a very real complexities of creating a global network of regulated digital liabilities. That's where we're at here, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the reason I'm bringing all this up about regulated liability networks is because we know that Patrick McHenry, who has announced that he will retire at the end of 2024, signals a critical year ahead for market structure and stablecoin legislation. Representative French Hill has told us we could see stablecoin legislation in Q1 of this year. within the next 3 months. Think of it for a moment. We're not the only ones. The UK publishes final proposals for crypto and stablecoin regulation. The EU and MiCA regulations. Stablecoins are currently in the spotlight of policymakers due to their rapid growth, increasing global use cases, and potential financial risk and contagion channels. There's a reason why I'm talking about this today, because I believe, and we have covered the idea and understanding, that BRICS coalition just got a lot bigger. The larger part of the world's oil production now lives inside of BRICS coalition. We know the petrodollar agreement is absolutely being unwound and not honored at the very least. So why does it matter about stablecoins, Brad? Because if we experience hyperinflation from the ditching of the US dollar, if we experience hyperinflation from the pulling away of the petrodollar agreement, we could see hyperinflation on the dollars in your pocket. Getting legislation passed for stablecoins, allowing, let's say, every bank to have a stablecoin, like Ashish Burla says.
The government seems to be also waking up to this notion that, hey, listen, we need to get moving here on creating proper regulation. There's also a lot of regulation, at least talk, around the stablecoin aspect of it. And how great would it be if every bank in the United States issued a stablecoin on a blockchain? Now that would connect it to real world society and solve real world problems. But that stablecoin regulation needs to pass, it needs to get adopted, and it needs to be well written, just like the Telecommunication Act was written in the 1960s that helped the internet flourish.
There you go right there. And it was in the 1990s, but we're not going to hold it against Ashish Burla. It's just a misstatement there. But the reality here is this. That's how important the stablecoin legislation is. It's as important as the Telecommunications Act was to open and free the internet so it could become what it is today. That's how important it is. Because stablecoin legislation and prudential regulation done properly will create a new use case that every bank can create their own stablecoin, which will create a huge demand, new demand, to soak up dollars and treasuries that back the current dollars floating the world by backing in 1-to-1 your stablecoin at Bank of America and Wells Fargo and everywhere else. Right? And that demand may be just enough. That new demand created may be just enough to help soak up some of the trillions of dollars floating around this world to deal with the hyperinflation that we may be on the precipice of experiencing here right at home in the United States. Before I get out of here, you should join us in the Freedom Zone. One thing I am sure of is that social media is not free, and it is no free speech there. That is for sure. I bear witness to it. I have been victim of censorship, but freedom of speech exists in the Freedom Zone, and we're going to have it in there today because I got the flight logs for Jeffrey Epstein in there for you. We're going over that and so much more. This is not financial advice from me or anyone else. I'll catch all of you on the next one. See you in the Freedom Zone.